have the chairperson and 2 committee members. Chief McCubbin is absent. 33.4 City Code of Orders. He is the chief of Bardstown, city police chief, and he make decision within the department regarding to personnel. I would like to make a recommendation to the safety committee. I don't know when should I make this recommendation, because I need to make a recommendation because we do not have 2 members and the chairperson present. I need to make a recommendation to revise the safety committee. Now, when should I do it? You determine.
The chairperson is not present?
No, I said,
I'm the chairperson.
I know, this is
Okay. Now, who we missing?
municipal order.
Okay.
Chief Howard's name has not been removed off this municipal order.
Okay.
Chief McCubbin, he is still on duty and he's absent. So we do not have 2 members and the chairperson present. So what I indicated, I want to make a recommendation to the safety committee, to the mayor, to put on the agenda for the council, municipal order number 2 M2016-07 be revised, because we do not have 2 members and the chairperson present.
New business.
What's that?
New business.
On the next, on the council meeting.
No, I mean, at this meeting, if we have a place for new business, that might be an appropriate place
Okay.
for him to make that.
Bring it up again, Councilman Lydian, when we get down to new meeting day. Okay, and we'll put it on the new meeting and we'll see that it gets revised and updated. Okay? All right.
But if, that has nothing to do with the minutes, does it, Francis?
It'd be under new minutes, under new business.
Well, but my point, we got, we need to approve the minutes if they're intact and they're okay.
Right, and my name is in the minutes because I did make a comment at the last meeting and I thought it would be taken care of.
Excuse me, it is in the minutes. However, what he's saying is that we need to revise the safety committee because the way it's listed
That was
is
just-
Fire Chief Marlon Howard, Police Chief Rick McCubbin. So he's going to get the language to me on if we want to put just Fire Chief and Police Chief, but get the wording right so that he can present it to the council. Okay?
We're gonna update the roster.
For the members that are on the safety committee, that's what he's referring to. But it is reflected in the minutes.
Since my name is indicated in the minutes, this motion will relate to my comment.
So I'll make note of it.
Still have a motion on the floor to approve? Make a motion.
Well, that's my question.
Okay.
Are you disapproving what is in the minutes? Is that what you're saying?
He put the motion on the floor and I will make a comment on my motion. Whatever the motion is. I mean, if you're going to put the motion, the chairperson called for a motion. We have 2 members present. So you had to put the motion to approve the minutes or whatever.
He's pretty much saying that in order to approve the minutes, there needs to be amendment to it, that the fire chief that is on the list and the police chief that's on the list is not present and was not present at these minutes. Is that correct, Mr. Lee?
Yeah.
You still have a quorum.
Yes.
So Bobby can make the motion, Francis could second.
Wait a minute now. You don't tell me what I should do. Larry, you do not tell me what I should do on my vote.
I'm just clarifying,
I said
I'm just clarifying your,
Oh, okay.
I said you could second it, you could do something else.
I'm just clarifying that you want to change to the minutes to reflect that the fire chief that is on the list was not present, and the police chief that is on the list was not present, and they'll be put in the new business and will be updated by the next meeting.
And there's a motion on the floor.
Yes. Motion to approve the minutes with your
correction.
Your correction.
Who made a motion?
I'll make the motion, Francis.
I will abstain. I will abstain. Insufficient info for me related to committee members, fire and police committee has not been revised. So I abstain.
Okay, then we'll,
I mean, you the chairman, I abstain.
I said, okay.
I mean,
Well, that's,
Robert Rules order, you got to follow through. I abstain.
then it's duly noted, and
Well, I mean, no, you're not doing it correct.
The motion fails.
No,
Then the motion passed.
motion did not
With-
pass.
if you abstain, it
If you have
passes,
one
same as a
member and
yes.
I abstain, then how's the motion gonna pass? I mean, how's the motion gonna pass? If you
That's
got
why I
one,
said it
no,
fails.
no one seconded it. I did not second it.
That's fine.
Okay, I'll withdraw my motion.
The table?
I'll take, well, yes.
Well, you don't even have to table, it just fails for lack
Okay,
of
so it fails, and duly noted, I'll see that the changes come about.
So the motion is duly failed, right?
Right.
Okay.
But,
I need to interject though, but I need you to give me the language of what you want that municipal order to
Okay.
say. If you want it to say just fire chief or
Yeah.
police
yeah, we're gonna go off.
chief, give it to me, then I'll give it to Barbie, and then you.
Let me see if I can improve my knowledge. This is the first time I experienced something like this because it's never happened. I always thought it was a chain of command to make, it's the mayor who points the committees to a resolution, I think, no, this to a municipal order, then it brought before the council before it be approved, so I have to do it myself?
Barbie's want you to say what language you want on it. Do you want it to say the fire chief and then you all agree on it? You know, if you want the name out, fire chief, who it is, or you just want to say fire chief? That way you
Well-
can go back and amend it later. We can just.
Well, anyway, let me make this last comment. Chief Howard's name, past chief, his name is still on this municipal order. His name need to be removed from this order.
Okay.
Rick McCubbin,
and that will be. I'll put it
Okay,
in
yeah,
the minutes,
but-
and we'll make the change to it.
okay, and Rick McCubbin, 33.4, City Code of Ordinance, he's a chief.
No,
I mean, you didn't hear what I said. 33.4, City Code of Ordinance. Chief Rick McCubbin is still the chief. I have no other knowledge. I'm on Safe Committee, and I'm assuming he's still chief. Is he still chief? I mean, I don't know. I mean, nobody haven't reported anything to the Safe Committee and to the City Council. I'm in the dark.
I believe till 31st, chief, he's still the chief.
And now who?
Till 31st.
The mayor has not reported anything to the Safety Committee of the council. That's the problem I'm having. You always talk about I'm always late. I'm in the dark of what's going on. The mayor has not discussed and to with the Safety Committee of the City Council.
And what was we supposed to discuss?
But Chief,
I know that-
I mean, you indicated about Chief McCubbin.
You first indicated that because the fire chief name is...
No, you said that he's gonna retire, no, I mean, May
That's
1st.
not on the agenda here. This is the safety committee minutes. Do we want to approve them or just...
Well, anyway, the minutes is not
The
true.
minutes is,
We'll go from
that's a
there.
motion on the floor to approve the minutes of the...
Right, and I'll
of the
stand
past minute,
it. And
last meeting.
I'll stand it, and
Okay, you abstained, it failed.
it didn't pass.
All right,
It
move on.
failed. Okay.
All right. The agenda, we're going to change around a little bit to move up the dispatch contract with state police, followed by the dispatch interlocal agreement with Nelson County. Mr. Larry Green has the floor.
All right, thank you. I guess to the first point, I've got some notes over here for people to look at. We have a proposal from the Kentucky State Police to provide dispatch services in the city of Bardstown for our police and fire. And and we also have a proposal from the county judge for dispatch services by the Central Dispatch in Nelson County. We have a budget from the Central Dispatch, but it's different from the judges. So we have a proposal from the judge, but I don't know that he's authorized by the Central Dispatch Board to make a proposal, especially one that's different than the one that the dispatch board made itself for this coming year in terms of budget. I just point that out because it's kind of interesting. So the proposal by the Kentucky State Police is that they will provide dispatch services for fire and police for $157,200. And the other option through the Nelson County Dispatch, this is from the judge using the dispatch budget, would be that there would be a $24 a year, $2 a month fee put on the, or tax put on the garbage. And we have 5,555 garbage customers in the city of Bardstown. The judge has a different number, but I'm not sure that makes, it's pretty close. So that would generate $24 a year, $133,320 is what that would generate for the county. If they put a $2 a month tax on the garbage bills. And the judge's proposal also has 40% of the balance to be paid for from the city of Bardstown. Now, and I'm going to flip over here and we'll come back. And the balance, I'm going to go back to the Central Dispatch Board's budget for fiscal year 2016-2017. $991,234 is the revenue needed to fund the dispatch. The current landline revenue is $162,000, give or take a year, $162,800. That is by fiscal court order, I think, is where that where the authority for that comes from. Then we also have cell phone revenue that is collected by the state through CMRS, I think is the name of that outfit, $172,384. And so the shortfall for dispatch is $656,050. It's for the whole county. And let me go back here now. So there's the shortfall, $656,000. If we go with the Kentucky State Police, our total cost, annual recurring costs, I should say recurring costs because we also have some upfront costs that we'll talk about. Our recurring cost would be $157,000, and that would be through the Kentucky State Police. If we go through the county and the Nelson County Dispatch, we would have that $133,000 plus $154,000, which would be 40% of the balance, and that balance is from this other page. The number isn't exact because the judge and I use slightly different figures, and he subtracted 24,000, whereas the dispatch board didn't subtract 24,000, they just put it out to the side. But his proposal was that we would pay 154,000. So the Bardstown citizens will pay under the county's proposal, and I have to preface that too because the fiscal court hasn't passed it. The judge said that the fiscal court was in agreement, in general agreement, not specific agreement. The fiscal court was in general agreement to put $2 a month on the garbage bills. So that's an assumption that that will pass through the fiscal court, which I think they have a special meeting maybe even to do that. Of course, they have to also get permission from the garbage collectors to put that on there. So, through the fiscal court's unofficial proposal, since they haven't voted on it, $133,000, $24 a year times per our 55 customers, would generate $133,000 from the people of Bardstown. In addition to that, they will bill us $154,000, which is equal to 40% of the balance of the 40% of what's needed to make up the shortfall. And I know we've said this before, but everybody that's a citizen of the city of Bardstown is also a citizen of Nelson County. So we would pay, the people in Bardstown would pay 40% of that shortfall that's left over after putting the new tax on. And then we'd also pay a third of the county's portion of their 60%, because city people contribute a third of the county's general fund budget through taxes. But be that as it may, going this route will cost us $287,000. Going through the Kentucky State Police will cost $157,000. Now, we can either, the city could put this $2 a month on the garbage itself and use that money to pay a good portion of this KSP bill. And if that was the case, then all that would be required from the general fund is $23,000. It all comes from the city residents, so in one sense it doesn't make much difference, but it does make a difference in terms of our budget, because we're right in the middle of budget time and we have to decide how much money to put into the budget for dispatch. Either $23,000 or $157,000 or $287,000 if we want to stay with central dispatch. So when we later talk about the police budget and the fire budget, these are the figures that that we'll need to consider. $23,000 plus this money from, I guess we'll need to have $157,000, but it'll come from two different sources. $23,000 from the general fund and $133,000 from a fee put on garbage. So the difference between those two, option one and option two, the total savings would be $130,000 a year. And that's between going through Kentucky State Police and Nelson County Central Dispatch. I thought it would be interesting to see what the savings would be, not just for the city, but for the whole county. Because after all, we are all county taxpayers and we all want to have the most efficient and effective use of our taxpayers' money. So the city cost by the Kentucky State Police would be $157,000. And if you take that, and by the way, if you just do it in terms of calls, because that's how they look at how they make up the charges, how much they would charge for dispatch, they look at your call volume, among other things. So the city, through our police and fire, have 12,197, and 11,000 of that plus is police. Police is almost all of dispatch calls for the city. And then the county we have 12,000 and the county has 17,000. The difference there, they have about the same number of law enforcement calls, but then they also have 5,000 or 6,000 EMS calls. So we have like 22,000 law enforcement calls, 5,000 or 6,000 EMS calls, and 500 or 600 fire calls. That's going up because we're doing a lot more rescue and emergencies, emergency medical. But if you prorated this, if you just did strictly through calculating how much the county would cost, how much they would pay KSP for the same per call, it would cost them $227,000 for a total for all of Nelson County of $384,000 a year. And our shortfall, what we're having to make up, is 656. These other two, the landline and the cell phone revenue, they go to wherever the PSAP is anyway, so they're kind of out of the equation. 656,000 staying with Nelson County Dispatch versus 384,000 going with the Kentucky State Police if we went city and county. So as a county resident, I might very well say, let's all go to the Kentucky State Police and save ourselves $271,000 a year. So, anyway, those are the numbers. But then that's only part of the story, because dispatch, it has to do, it's an integral part of our emergency services. And you can't just look at the numbers. You're dealing with officer safety, you're dealing with firefighter safety, you're dealing with EMS safety. And the quality of that dispatch is just as important as the cost. And so one of the things we wanted to do is talk to people to other communities that already use the state police dispatch. And Post 4 in Elizabethtown currently doesn't, they're one of the, I think, 2 posts in the state that don't dispatch for any other local agencies. Although the dispatchers that work there, many of them come from, they move around to different posts, and many of them have worked with posts that have fire and EMS. So I called for instance, Henry, Trimblin, and Owen County are all do their dispatch through the state police, as well as Hart County and Spencer County. And all of those, I talked to the judge executive in Henry County, John Brent, and he said that he was happy with the Kentucky State Police dispatching. And one of the issues was, what happens if there is a problem with the dispatching? And he said that if they do have a problem, that it's always ironed out, because there's always a captain on duty. So not only do you have the people in the dispatch, but you also have not just a supervisor, but you have a Kentucky State Police captain who's on the post at all times to if there is a problem. And he said when there are, they iron them out pretty quickly. I talked to Sheriff Mark Bass in Owen County, and he made the comment that the Kentucky State Police dispatchers are the best trained dispatchers in the state. That Kentucky State Police is a preeminent law enforcement agency. The dispatchers at KSB have their own training center. It's required that you have 4 weeks of training for dispatch. Kentucky State Police have 6. I talked to Major Shannon Keller. Where is he? He might have been in Hart County. Anyway, I'll find out where he's from. And he made the point that this is in northern Kentucky. They're using doing their own. Let's see what. Not Boone County. I lost track of it. Anyway, the sheriff said that they were doing their own dispatching. It cost them $374,000 a year. Now they're going with KSB, and it costs them $184,000. So significant savings there, and he said he's happy with that. And in particular, we talked about the CAD system, the computer-aided dispatch system that they use at the Kentucky State Police. The name of that system is Interact, and it's made by a company called Caliber. And that was the source of a whole page full of questions from Debbie Carter at our last meeting, and I think it was at the council meeting, and a whole series of questions about how that CAD system and how their dispatch software would work, and would it work like the one we have. And that software, Interact, is there are 233 agencies in the state of Kentucky that use Interact. It is the main software for dispatch in the state of Kentucky, and the most prevalent. And it was actually the first choice when, right now in Nelson County we use Spillman. And that's an old system, and it's not being supported properly, and so we've been trying to get away from it for a while. And when the dispatch center first started looking at new software, their number one choice was Interact. Well, it makes sense. It's the most prevalent. The state police use it, and they're kind of on the forefront of policing in the state. They're the state police, and there's more of it around, and that means that the database that you have access to through Interact is huge. You have all these different agencies putting information into it, and you can get that out with the right permissions. And the state police have information in there that we would have access to. So, and last year we actually, I shouldn't say, well, maybe it was we, because the city is part of it, that the Central Dispatch contracted to buy the Interact software for our system. But it fell through, and here's why. I'm reading from a letter from Debbie Carter to the CMRS board, Kentucky Office of 911 Coordinator, CMRS board. It says, during the talks with Interact, I repeatedly reminded them about our requirement for EMS scheduled runs. I was assured over and over that this was not a problem. But this version of the CAD does not have a feature for scheduled runs. And now they didn't buy Interact, and it said the board agreed to stop the project, that is installing Interact, due to scheduled runs are a requirement for EMS to function properly. But scheduled runs is not emergency dispatch. Scheduled runs for EMS is the operations of the EMS service. The county runs the EMS service, and together we have a joint dispatch board, which is supposed to be emergency dispatch. So what you have is the dispatch board discarding the number one software, the one that they chose as the one that they wanted, that is the one that's used by all these other agencies, all these other law enforcement agencies. And remember that law enforcement is over 90% of all the dispatch calls. Dispatch is predominantly law enforcement when you look at the numbers. And so why would the board not use their number one choice for CAD software for dispatch? And it's because it wouldn't do the operational part of the ambulance service, which is a county business, which we all pay for with our county taxes. So when there was an implication from Debbie's list of questions that Interact was somehow inferior, well, that's just not so. Interact is the superior law enforcement software. And it's used all over the state of Kentucky. So what we had to do was, they decided in order to help the county run their EMS service, they decided to not use the #1 CAD system, go to another one that would do pre-planning for the EMS runs. And one thing I don't have a background in law enforcement, so I didn't really have a real good feel for exactly how the Link NCIC and the records management service, the RMS part of the software, and the KY Ops, which is where all of the cases end up in a big database from the state. So I don't have a hands-on experience with that. So I couldn't really say how it works or how it doesn't, other than to know that the Kentucky State Police use this system, and they certainly have made the choice over the years of that system. So I asked if Bill Buckman and the mayor and Megan Wells from the police department would go over and talk to the state police, which they did today, and actually see these mobile data terminals, the terminals that they have in the police cars, see them in working with the state police, and they did that. So rather than tell you that it works really well from experience, I can't, but I could maybe turn it over to Bill Buckman for a report on that.
I had the list of all Debbie's questions that she brought up at the last council meeting, and pretty much got them all answered. The meeting with the state police is very informative. With the Interact system, it ties us all in with them. It'll give us a lot of features that is not available through the dispatch here because of the equipment. As far as the reports and the reporting and the accident reports, all that will go to KSB, just the same as dispatch, and be entered into their system there. We'll have full access to them, and also features, say if a trooper stops this vehicle somewhere else, and it automatically pops up when the officer in Bardstown runs it, showing that vehicle's been run twice. Another feature he told us about that's not available here is if officer talking to dispatch, it shuts down the system. And if there's another officer sees something more imminent, the one officer talking on the radio, the other officer that sees something that's more imminent can key up, and the dispatcher can hear the second officer with the more emergency type call that we couldn't do with the second, with here. They have two lines. That's called a two-tier system. It's a 2-year contract, no increases. We're going to put on 2 extra dispatchers to handle our calls. We'll have a separate dispatch desk and so forth. They're the 911s, it's all backup. They'll be in real time. And the radio backup procedures for KSB, they'll all be recorded and archived. The phone line at the PD, that was one of the questions, how that be handled. It can be done either way. We have the T1 connections, we can run a straight line to KSB, where if they pick up a phone, we're going to put a second phone in, it goes straight to KSB. Or we can leave the after-hours phone in place, and then as an in-house line, it'll go dispatch, they can transfer it right over. You're talking about seconds, I mean. The 911 calls, when they go in, if they have to be transferred out back to the county, the dispatcher will stay online. It's called, what do they call that? Monitor transfer. It'd be a monitor transfer that they'll never hang up or lose the person until the call is transferred out back to the county. Larry pretty much went over the costs and so forth. Megan is our keeper of the records. She does the Link NCIC and And the validations, since we already have a terminal at the Barstown, that'll continue as such, that we'll still be able to do the validations and so forth. It'll be teletype, and she'll still do the validation stuff just like if they were in the back of the building. But they'll be putting all the runs, calls, cases, so forth into their Interact. We'll have the full access to K-Ops. Let's see. Third-party emails and text runs, so forth, through fax and emails that'll be taken care of. The mapping, who'll do the updating on the mapping, that'll be David, and he sends the information to the dispatch now. Said he'll just send it to KSB, same thing. County EMT responsibility for the weather sirens. That's not on the dispatch, that's mandated by the EMA's responsibility. When they set the sirens off, that's countywide. Any questions if I can, pretty much it.
Let me make a comment.
If I can answer them.
Okay. I think we should put amount in the budget, because this issue do not have to be taken care of at the present time. I think we put a high number in the budget, and Councilman Fred Hagan indicated that. We can always amend the budget. I'm more confused now, listening to Buckman and Larry. We trying to compare apples and apples in here and oranges, and who got less oranges over here. And I indicated before, I do not want to separate.
Let me
Okay.
Okay. Let me throw one thing out that I didn't say.
All right.
They may clarify.
Okay.
The Zyrtec system that the county's going to
Right.
is being implemented at this time. It's going to start go online the 28th, and we don't have the record. We're not being included in this for the record keeping part.
So like I indicated,
Even though it's an interlocal agreement, we're out in code.
I'm more confused. I need something in front of me, Larry, and you have really confused me, and you done throw it in 20 more cents, and I indicated before, I do not want to separate. We're trying to compare apples and apples, and who got less apple, who got more apple. The county rent the city, that building out there, police department, for $1 a year. So we shouldn't try to compare apples and apples, because the county county helped save the city of Barstown many dollars. Look at that police department building out there. And I indicated before, I do not want to separate. We always talk about trying to keep your business in Barstown. Now we want to take the business out of Barstown. And I think we should put a number in the budget. And we have time between now and September to discuss this, because this is a major problem and a major issue. And I don't think we should even make no recommendation at this present time. Because you really confused me, Larry, with all those numbers, not having anything in front of me to really analyze and evaluate it. So that's my comment, and I don't think we should separate. That's my opinion.
I'd like to ask Larry a question. When you started your presentation, you said that the dispatch and Dean's numbers, or the county numbers, didn't match with dispatch.
Right.
Maybe I didn't get around there fast enough to see it, but where's that at? What is that difference?
The budget that was given to the city council and fiscal court for this year was $991,000. The proposal given to the city by the judge started with them having $965,000. So he would somehow subtracted some money. So the fiscal court's number is lower than what the dispatch board presented. So I don't know how the dispatch board can operate if they say they need 991 and the fiscal court says, well, you're only going to get 965, then what are they going to cut out? How are they going to? I assume there's something that could be cut, but then as you do that, then the actual service is even less than it is now, because right now it's, they've spent more than 965 for this year. So I don't know where the judge would cut their budget, because he didn't provide another budget, he just provided a lesser number when saying how much we would pay. And that's why the numbers don't add up, is because he used a lesser amount for dispatch in order, I don't know why he did it, but it had the effect of making it look better for the city in terms of what we would have to pay. But it doesn't answer the question of, is he going to rewrite their budget? And the judge can pretty much do what he wants, because New Haven and Bloomfield have people on the board, 2 people each on the board, and yet they don't pay anything for dispatch. That's absorbed by the county general fund, or has been since 2006. And yet there's only two members of an 8-member board that are from the city, and so when the judge decides when the judge decides what the numbers are, that's what the numbers are, because he has the votes to do it. So I don't quarrel with his numbers, but they're not the numbers that were presented to the city council by the dispatch board in their budget proposal. But so I don't know why. I mean, I can't answer it any other way than because I don't know his motivation for giving a different number. I would like to this time also, just because it's part of the what we would have to pay for the Kentucky State Police, is those are the annual numbers, and then we also have a one-time cost to set it up, which I'll run through those real quickly. We would have to buy a repeater and police radio equipment from RCS. That would be $18,000. We'd have to buy radio equipment to put into that we would own, but would be put into the Kentucky State Police dispatch post, or post dispatch center. That's $3,680. We would have to have a T1 line equipment installed at the state police post with a piece of equipment on either end, at the state police post and then at the fire department where our antenna would be, and that would be about $20,000. GIS upgrade, which they're already in the process of doing. They're doing it all over the state, really. That is where they get a GIS coordinate for every front door in the city. I think the city itself has GIS coordinates for things like our water meters, and so we have every address, but it's not exactly where they would do it for law enforcement. So anyway, that's $14,000, and then we would have to get. Right now we have 12 of the computers in the police cars. What are those? Mobile data terminals. And so we'd have to get 12 CAD and RMS software licenses from Interact that costs $13,000. So anyway, $70,000 worth of upfront costs, one-time costs, and then $157,000 a year. So $130,000 savings every year. I asked Tracy to calculate what that would save over 10 years, and what did you say?
A little over $1 million.
Yeah, $1,300,000. So that is, well, I won't get into the budget implications, but that's a lot of money. One other thing I'd like to say about going with the Kentucky State Police, and the fire chief can address this as well, and maybe in more knowledgeably in more detail. But their system should give us a better ISO score. And the ISO is the insurance ratings for fire protection, and that has a direct bearing on the amount that people pay for homeowners insurance with most insurance companies. And it could make the difference between a class 5 and Class 4 insurance rating. We missed it by, I think the chief said by a point the last time. And that would, because the state police will have 3 or 4 or 5 even dispatchers, but at least 3 all 24 hours a day. And because of the amount because our central dispatch was not able to get what they asked for in their budget last year and has been cut again this year, then we don't have those 3 on 24 hours a day. That would make a significant difference in the ISO rating. And then there are other things like the backup generator and how often it's tested. There are a bunch of small items that, or not small, but there are a lot of items that go into the ISO rating, the dispatch portion of the ISO rating. It's only one. It's only 10 points out of 100, but every point counts when you're trying to go get a better rating. So there is that part, that advantage as well. Going to Kentucky State Police is getting lower insurance costs for our citizens.
I indicated before, Larry, I think we should stay with the county, and I do not think we should go with the Kentucky State Police. You're talking about the ISO. I don't want to get into that again, because we done been through that ISO before, and it was misleading, and I think we should leave it ISO out, because it's kind of misleading. And I think we should stay with the county, negotiate with the county, and see if we can work it out. And I'm not going to change my mind, no one's not going to change my mind, that we should go with Kentucky State Police, and I think we should stay with the county. That's my opinion.
Well, the city council does have a proposal that we gave to the county. I think it was February.
And I don't have nothing in writing there. I mean, nothing. The only thing that I'm reviewing is what you got up there. Give us something so we can review it. Your involvement is...
We have a proposal that the city gave to the county.
I can't just read every program, everything in my head, pages up there, what you say. Give me something in writing. Let us review it from there. Like I said, I think we'll put a number in the budget, and we got between now and September. We can always amend the budget, put a high figure in the budget, and we can amend it. And we have time to negotiate between now and September. And I don't think we should rush at it. For safety and welfare of this community, we need to get it right. I'm serious. And I'm against trying to compare apples and apples. My focus is on safety and welfare of this community, of city and county. That's my opinion.
We agree on that.
All right.
All right, a couple other things I want to cover on that was the mapping. He's already said it's already done, it's almost finished up. And the rip runs, those, that was addressed, it goes straight just like it does now, except that you come in on facts. You just take the rip run, and also they have an app where it goes straight to your cell phone or whatever, and it tells you, gives you a map and yada yada, where you need to go. My biggest concern about the whole thing, Dave, is the Zyrtec changeover that's coming up on the 28th, and the county's already implemented that we weren't included in our filing system, and our system is not, either we get on board or we don't, and we're going to be out in the cold and back to pencil, paper, and file cabinets, I guess. I don't know how this is going to work, but anyway, we have an interlocal agreement till September, and I guess it's going to be not maintained, but anyway. Anything else on the fire or police dispatch and interlocal agreement? If not, we're moving on. Next on the agenda is the fire department budget discussion. New fire station with Randy Walker. Randy Walker has the floor.
First thing, if we're talking about the fire station, actually it's more than that. It's as what was discussed at a committee meeting 2 months ago, public safety committee meeting, it's a public safety building. that would house police and fire. So with that being the thought process, we contacted 2 architectural firms just so we could get an idea of how much it would cost to build a new building that meets all the codes, that would serve the city for police and fire, both. And I think you all got that in an email that was $5 million roughly. That's a big ticket item, obviously, huge money. So just by saying we need a new building is not enough to me. I think it needs to be justified to this committee as well as the full council as to why do we need that big of an expense. So I can only speak to the fire department needs. I can't speak to the police department needs, even though Chief McCubbin was present when we met with the architecture firm, GRW, who does a lot of work with the city of Bardstown currently and in the past. So one thing, and probably the biggest thing for me, and I gave you all a lot of information about ISO and how that is applicable to the needs that we have for actually multiple fire stations based on the risks that are inside the city limits. And I'm going to touch on that in just a second. But primarily, and I'm going to give you a handout because I just printed it off today. Take it home and read it, obviously. But I wanted to highlight just a couple of issues in here. And I tabbed them. And there's only like 3 pages, so I won't be here all night because this is a pretty hefty document. The state of Kentucky just passed a cancer bill for firefighters. I'll put the next one. For firefighters. There is a big, there have been multiple studies that have been conducted about cancer rates amongst firefighters as compared to the general population. So the first page I have tabbed is, one example is, in bold, is a firefighter is 2.2 times more likely to develop testicular cancer compared to the general population. That's one type of cancer. In the smaller print to the left of that, and I won't go through all of them, but for every type of cancer listed, firefighters have a greater likelihood of contracting a form of cancer than the general population because the hazards we're exposed to at a fire scene. If you go to the second tab, which is on page 8, why is that so? Well, obviously there's carcinogens in smoke, but in addition to that, there's a 400% increase in absorption rates for every 5-degree increase in skin temperature. So if I'm going in to fight a fire, it's not at room temperature, we have it here, it may be approaching 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit. So for every 5 degrees, it exponentially grows 400% that I'm exposing my skin, even though I've got my coat and all that on, it will still be absorbed into my skin. So if you go to the last tab, and this is probably the most important one, it says, what actions can I take as a firefighter to protect myself? And we do some of these. For example, we wash our gear off. We try to clean ourselves up as best as possible. But number 5 that I highlighted says, shower thoroughly after a fire. At the current fire station, for example, today we had 9 firefighters at the fire station. They assisted the county on a fire. There's 1 shower head. Now, we didn't have any of our volunteers show up, but when we had the last couple of fires, the last fire we had TNT feed, we had 16 firefighters. We have 1 shower. So if I be the nice guy and wait to be the last guy to get my shower to decon all those contaminants off my skin, I might have to wait 7 or 8 hours and hope there's no hot water left after 15 other guys have been in front of me in the same shower. So to me, there's a severe health hazard that we are exposed to as firefighters, and we don't have facilities to properly care for our firefighters after a fire. Luckily, we don't fight a fire every day. But this weekend, we had a kitchen fire out off Bloomfield Road. Just a couple weeks ago, we had the fire at TNTC. So these are routine exposures that our firefighters are exposed to. And for me, safety trumps everything. So I'm not saying go out and spend $5 million just because we need an extra shower. I'm saying that the current facilities we're in are not adequate, and to remodel those facilities, I think would be throwing good money after bad. We are maxed out as far as sleeping accommodations, and that doesn't take into consideration our volunteers that come in. They have volunteers exposed to the same carcinogens at a fire that a paid firefighter is. So they have to go through the same process because we don't want them dragging that stuff home to their family and their kids. How much worse can it be for me to have all this crap on my body, I didn't shower, and I go home and my little daughter squeezes my leg, Daddy, Daddy, I'm glad you're home, and now I've exposed her to some of these chemicals that I've come into contact with because I don't have proper facilities to clean people up. Getting back to the ISO part of it, I gave you some documents showing our current fire station and a 1.5 mile radius from our current fire station. That's what's accepted by ISO, is a 1.5 mile radius. And they look at your bigger, what they call target hazards or high fire flow, and I even put those flow lists on there for you so that you can see we've got about half of the ones covered that ISO had on their list. The other half are beyond 1.5 miles. So there's a need for additional fire coverage inside the city limits of Bardstown. Also, I contacted other area cities that are similar to us in population and square mileage because, you know, we want to make sure we're comparing, as the councilman said, apples to apples. And I'll give this out to you. I'll go through it real quickly so I know that you'll want to take this home and read it. But if you look at Bardstown with a population of 11,700, 7.3 square miles, one fire station, we're a ISO class 5. And remember, the lower the number, the less insurance premiums homeowners and businesses pay. Berea, 13,561 population, 9.3 square miles, 2 fire stations, they're a class 3 insurance rating. Danville, which is obviously bigger than us, but they also have more square miles. They have 2 fire stations, but even still they have a class 4 insurance rating. Glasgow, Lawrenceburg, Middlesboro, Shelbyville, Shepherdsville, as you can see by population, some are a little smaller, some are a little bigger. Area-wise, they're fairly comparable except for Glasgow and Danville. You can see we're the only one in that list with 1 fire station, and we have the worst fire insurance rating of all those listed. So I think there's a direct correlation from an ISO standpoint as to the city you have, the coverage you have, and what homeowners and businesses pay in insurance premiums. To me, there's no doubt about it. So I sent you all out before, and I know we sent it out just again, the strategic plan for the fire department and these are our goals. Some of them are attainable, some of them may take a while to get us there. We understand that. Because I'm very realistic, I understand money doesn't grow on trees. And I realize we just spent a huge amount of money on a new fire apparatus. I'm very cognizant of that. And if there's any way that we can, improve our service at the least amount of cost, I am absolutely 100% on board. You'll see when we get into our budget discussion, we are aggressively going after any and all state and federal grants that we can apply for. So with all that, like I said, when we made the proposal to the architectural firm, the proposal was to combine police and fire because there were some areas we felt like instead of building 2 separate buildings, that we could save a little money. And actually I was surprised that according to the architect, actually the police part costs more money than the fire part because of some of the things they have to have because of bulletproof glass, whatever the requirements are It's actually cost more of that 5 million. I don't have an exact number because we didn't ask them to specifically give us a price of a fire station. But if you look at some of the other area fire departments, they built them for, between $1 and $2 million, just for a fire station. So, we've also had some general discussions with the International Association of Firefighters. Justin Brown's our local president, and we can contact them, and they will also help us with a study to see where they would recommend we place a fire station at. Because we don't have any property yet. We've got some property we've discussed, but that's been in general terms. We don't have anything, to my knowledge, definite. But if you look at the one map that I gave you, obviously we are deficient north and east. And because that's where we have our industrial facilities, it makes sense. With that, and like I say, the diagram was a rough, the architect said, okay, let's just say we do all this. This is what we're looking at. But we were looking at trying to share a training room, trying to share some common areas, weight room, physical fitness facilities, things of that nature, to try to reduce square footage and also reduce cost as well. So that was pretty much all I had as far as regards to the fire station, as far as what I can comment on. Yes, sir.
I support the firefighters. You dedicated firefighters' life is in danger when you go fight fire. I support you 100%. I'm gonna make a recommendation to the safety committee, because this is a major project, that this will be turned over to the long-term planning committee. And we have engineers and what's not on this committee, and that will be my recommendation to the safety committee, to turn it over to a long-term planning committee. Chairman Buckland, I'll make that recommendation that we turn this over to the long-term planning committee.
I'm back down.
Okay. Okay, let me see, I'll wait.
Duly noted in the record?
Play.
After duly noted in the record?
Yeah, okay. Are we still on the budget? You get on the bill, are you gonna discuss the budget?
That's what I wanted to ask the chairman. Does that concludes this part of it?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right here.
Okay. On our proposed fiscal year 17 budget, like I said just a second ago, you'll see we have put a huge amount of money, $750,000 in federal grants. That's what we're applying for. We may not get a nickel of it. That is, we are in competition with every other fire department in the United States pretty much. And we feel like we've written some strong grants, but once again, we don't get to make the decisions or we'd be winners every time. But we wanted to allow for that on the revenue side in anticipation that we do receive these grants in the next fiscal year. If we go on down, there's really not a whole lot of difference. I'm trying to look here. If you see anything that I passed over, please feel free to stop me. I'm just trying to get you down to where I think is some of the issues. If you go down to 5380, which is uniforms and clothing, we've asked for a significant increase, almost double, in that line item. There's two reasons for that. Number one, we do not currently provide our volunteers with full uniforms, and to help with esprit de corps, to assist with them being part of the organization, we want to try to outfit our volunteer members just like we do anybody else. More importantly, and I think you all should know by now, one of the biggest things I harp on is safety. Currently, the uniforms we wear are a polyester cotton blend. And obviously they are the least expensive option. That's the reason we're in them. There are two other types of uniforms on the market. One is made of 100% cotton, and the other one is made of a flame-resistant product called Nomex. And I'm going to show you, I've only got one brochure, so I apologize, I'll pass it around so y'all can, but it's a pretty good visual representation. If you start at the top, the far column to the left is the 100% cotton uniform that we do not wear now. The middle one is the poly cotton uniform, which we do wear now. And the last one is the Nomex. The Nomex, without a doubt, is the most expensive. That's like anything else. The better option, the more expensive it is. They exposed all three of these uniforms to fire at the same temperature, the same rate for 10 seconds. And it shows once the flame's removed, how the burning continues with the polyester cotton versus the Nomex is almost self-extinguished. So I'll let you take a look at that, Councilman, and I'll pass it to the other chair.
What kind of gloves?
Nomex, is that pretty hot to wear?
We've been trial wearing, some of the vendors, we've asked if we could just try, get a couple on trial basis. And actually, it seems like the 100% cotton, because we wanted to try all of it, the 100% cotton is just a little less expensive than the Nomex, but it's a thicker, even though it's 100% cotton, it's very thick, it's almost like canvas. And it's actually the hottest. The Nomex, so far, the guys that are doing the wear testing are fine with it. Now, we may find out this week when we get back into some 80-degree temperatures.
We found that Nomex was pretty warm. What was another name? Fire.
Yeah, there's a FR rating. Yes, yes. And that's the reason we wanted to wear test them, to make sure the guys were comfortable in them. And they're saying right now, the polyester cotton blend versus the Nomex, they're not seeing a big difference. And they'll wear one day and one the next just to see if there's a big difference, and they haven't noticed a significant difference in that.
Are we talking about a 50%, 60%, 100% increase in price from where we're at to this other?
When we add the volunteers in, it would be that request. What we did, and the second thing is it would be part of that is getting them, there's some options with the Nomex. It depends on what we end up with budget-wise. There are companies out there, for example, Cintas is one company that will actually rent us the uniforms and they'll do the cleaning. We've also looked at us buying uniforms and still sending them out for cleaning so that guys aren't, especially our volunteers, aren't taking them home. Even though we have laundry facilities at the fire station, we don't want them taking that stuff home either.
So this projected budget is $40,000, that includes the Nomex?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
yeah, we put that in
That's an
there.
upgrade into your...
And, right, yeah. And like I said, we looked at purchasing outright and rentals, and it's really not a huge difference. It's a little cheaper to rent, but at the end of the day, you're still renting. It's like buying a car or leasing
Do
a
they
car.
do the replacement as on a rental basis, if torn, something that where we'd have to...
Depends on how severe, that's what the rip, it depends on how severe the rip and tear is. They can repair it to the NFPA standard. If they can't, they have to get rid of it. We have to pay for a new shirt if it's beyond repair to the standards.
So not 100% replacement for
No, sir.
on a rental contract?
There is not, no. So, like I say, there are some drawbacks, and either way we go. So right now, so far, we're actually been leaning more towards just buying a smaller number and having a laundry service pick them up on a more regular basis. So we wouldn't have to have as many uniforms. But once again, that all depends on how we end up budgetarily. I'll continue on down the list after uniforms, anything that is a maintenance and repairs vehicles.
Yeah, 5580.
If we look at what we have spent this fiscal year, we're actually about $33,000, I believe. And that's the price we pay because we're operating apparatus that is, the newest one's 16 years old. The other pumper that we rolled out today to help Nelson County on a fire it's a 1993 model. It's not saying they're not good trucks, the older they get, they require more maintenance. The tanker truck that was purchased last year was about $46,000. We've spent $18,000 just in maintenance on it this year, since June. So, let me go, let's see, that's the same. There's a slight increase in insurance. Telephone's a slight increase. We did reduce like travel and lodging a little bit because we weren't spending that much. We've been trying to capitalize on bringing instructors here rather than sending guys away to class as much as possible. Sometimes we have to send guys away, but, the volunteer fire department fees we've reduced because as we talked about when we were buying the new ladder truck, that budget was based on when it was still a combined city-county department, and we didn't need that much money in that line item. The grant money, because we have it coming in, we gotta show it going out. The technical equipment, that's the allowance for an additional pumper. That would be, and I have a price quote from Seagrave. There's very few because the fire station we're in right now, and the height restrictions, as we've talked about multiple times, there's only a couple, 3 vendors that can even build a fire truck short enough to fit in the station. And Seagrave is one of them, so that was where we based that price quote on. And that goes back to the ISO study, part of the strategic plan that I sent you all in advance. And I think, did I miss anything, or do y'all have any questions over anything I've discussed?
As I indicated before, I support the firefighters, you dedicated firefighters, but I do have to ask you a question. This 2017 budget, we're going to have a $214,000 deficit. This do not look too good. And this is the first time we had a deficit for many years. So the question I need to ask you, we have 24 full-time firefighters, 15 volunteers, so that's a total of 39. So you are requesting $600,000 more personnel. What do you need $600,000 for more personnel?
Well, first of all, we only got 16 full-time personnel.
You got how many?
16.
16 full-time?
Yes, sir. But secondly, that money is strictly grant money. That 600,000 is federal grants because as you, at the very first line item, federal grants, the biggest part of that grant is a recruitment and retention grant for volunteer firefighters. So that's that 600 and whatever it was.
Yeah, $600,000.
Right.
Plus,
That was strictly based on if we get a grant. If we get the money in, we got to spend it going back out.
so anyway, you already indicated you have increased a big expense in the fire department. 2017, you were requesting $1,294,530 more dollars. That's more you didn't have last year, so your total proposal budget for 2017 is $2,892,780.
Yes, sir, and that includes
Right.
a new fire engine.
I'm saying, we have 15 departments. We're gonna have to make some cuts somewhere along the line because with a deficit in the 2017 budget of $214,000, we just don't, I'm opening a dream, all our combined utility income out, and we have a $214,000, I'm gonna tell it to the Safe Committee, we're gonna have to make some cuts. $214,591 deficit in the budget, and we got 15 departments, we're gonna have to ask each department to make a cut. I'm serious. I mean, this is right here, whole budget, $214,591 deficit. You just but done wiped out this combined utility, you have $20,000 and you got a deficit in there. And your general fund of $235, so if you do your math, you have a $214,591 deficit. That do not look too good. I'm serious. So we're gonna have to make some cuts, and what department we gonna cut in, but definitely somebody's gonna have to cut somewhere along the line. That's all I have to say.
Well, the only, or the biggest thing I see is the truck.
Yes.
And we discussed that
We did.
the other night.
Yep.
That was brought up. Ben, we just done that, we may have to look at blocking and knocking this truck out.
I understand.
You know what we need other than that right there. You know that's a big item.
Oh, I do. I
Like
realize that.
Francis said. But these other things that rather than go item, the safety and all, you know what we want to do.
Yes, sir.
Ourselves, but the big item's the truck.
Correct.
That's the big item.
I understand, and then that, when you all get to the process as far as the full council, you know, I think Councilman Copeland asked about a used apparatus I have scoured. I found one the other day, but it had been wrecked. Now, the guy said it was just strictly body damage, no frame damage, you know, for, I think it was $190,000. But once again, you know, fire apparatus, like buying insurance policies, are expensive. So I know where you're coming from, Councilman, I do. Because it's like we're asking for pie in the sky, and I promise you, I'm not, but I understand you only got a certain amount of money to go around as well. I understand what Councilman Lydian is saying as well. Any questions for me? Thank you.
And the next, police department budget discussion, creation of sergeant position training. Kenzie Mann, you're on the deck.
I apologize, I don't have the budget here tonight, so I'm not prepared to
Okay.
discuss that.
Okay. What about the creation of sergeant position training?
We back on the police, but I have a question. Wait a minute.
What?
Let me see. I have a question somewhere. Hold on this.
I don't think we can expose Captain Mattingly with the budget because of just something that he is just in, so I don't think we can expose him
okay.
to that.
Who do I need to discuss here? I mean, I have a question related to the expenses in the, some line items in the, now who do I need to discuss it with? I mean, Chief of Government is still on duty.
He chose not to show up, he sent,
Well, 33.4 chief is the chief. And like I said, I don't even know what's going on. Nobody haven't told me nothing. The mayor hadn't discussed no kind of status with us, with the safety committee, other council. I don't even know what's going on. So I'm assuming we still got a chief, I guess. So anyway, I have some questions related to the police department. I need to ask someone some questions, Mayor. I mean, since he cannot ask them, who shall I ask? Who shall I? Okay.
yeah, we'll go over the budget again at the next June 9th.
Okay, so I have some questions. I'll just say.
We'll make sure the police chief attends this time, since he didn't want to attend this one.
Well, he's the chief.
He's not gonna be here, then whoever the acting chief will be,
Well, you cannot.
he'll be prepared.
You gotta go with the law.
That'll be changed in the new.
Right.
Now,
33.4, Chief McCubbin is still the chief, and he makes decisions within the department, personnel and everything. So after he leaves, I don't know when he's leaving, no one hadn't told me when he's gonna leave, or if he's gonna retire, I
I
don't
think his
know.
last day is May 21st.
Well, I don't know. Mayor never.
Call his office and make an appointment to go see him.
The mayor never have discussed anything with us, so anyway, I don't even know what's going on. Sometimes I think I'm not even a councilman.
Moving on.
All right.
Any recommendations from the council? No recommendations? Next meeting be June 9th, 2016, so I'll make recommendations to have the minutes changed and reflect Councilman Lydian.
I'll get with Barbara Bryant and revise municipal order 2016-07.
Make a motion floor to adjourn. So move, second? Second, meeting adjourned.